I interest you in other desired supposes in our exclusive boutique?
I'm fine for now, thank you.
Then I would like you to announce your locus of residence, followed by the numbers to your telephone.
So here we are back in the studio. We're here.
It's been some time, Sarah. Happy Christmas and or New Year since last time I saw you.
Yeah. Is that a new... Yeah.
Head?
Yeah. It suits you. And what else suits us is top 10 and also other numbers of movies that we enjoyed this year.
Because everyone loves lists.
Yes.
As BuzzFeed taught us back in 2014 when that was a relevant thing to say out loud. So yeah, a lot of lists to get through. I think we'll open it by going through the Film Ireland, the collated list, the one the big compooper comes together and decides was our collective hive minds top 10 based on an article that you should check out on the website. Yes. That'll have this in more detail, full of many words by many different humans from different walks of life, talking about similar films because the human brain is only so imaginative. So in no particular order, the Film Ireland writers' top 10 are Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Booksmart, The Souvenir, Part 1, The Irishman, The Lighthouse, Pain and Glory, Marriage Story, In Fabric, and Us. Not us as in me and Sarah reader, you understand? Reader,
You're
listener.
Too kind.
No, the film was about
Yes.
the exploitation of black people.
Yeah.
That one. Where shall we begin? I will quickly, given again this is the Film Ireland podcast, say my top 3 Irish films of the year because they'd make my top 10. So in third place, Extraordinary, which we reviewed on our last episode, and broadly both quite liked.
Yes.
Enough that it made it third place, I suppose, for me. In second, I put Hole in the Ground, which is a very solid Irish horror film, which everyone should watch. I think it's on Netflix now. And in first place, Cellar Door. So 2 of those 3 are quite bleak. And me and you were just saying on last episode that it was nice, Extraordinary wasn't that bleak. And only made third place. So
And
the lesson there is go back to bleak. Because Cellar Door is incredibly bleak. That was the horror based on the Magdalene Laundries, but told in a non-linear pseudo-supernatural style that was very interesting and good. Sarah, any contribution on that front?
The movies, the Irish movies that I enjoyed this year. Extraordinary, also high on my list. Did enjoy it a lot. Also, it was mainly Scottish film with Irish actors. So that was Wild Rose, which was very enjoyable. And yes, also watched Never Grow Old. It's in the past now. It's fine.
You're right. Also in the past is 2018. But because of Irish release schedules, 2018 films get released here in 2019. So to cover myself for my own top 10, I'm going to include, as its own separate mini list, top 10 worthy films that came out in 2019 here.
Richard's far more prepared than me.
2018 in the real world, and therefore were like last year's Oscar movies. So if Beale Street Could Talk, Destroyer, and of course The Favourite, which I think if I was ranking would probably be quite high in the top 10 this year because The Favourite's very, very good. But it's technically a last year movie to my brain and my system,
fair.
So it's gone and dead to me.
Aw. But you know,
Is it in your top 10?
it's not in my top 10 now. One of those movies is though,
god damn it.
so,
You've broken the whole system. Sarah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So you were less prepared than me, as you said, but also
Yes.
that means there's less faffing about. So I have a further list to do before my top 10, which is honourable mentions. So Cellar Door, Hole in the Ground, Vox Lux, Horror Noir, which we'll get back to, Good Boys, Ready or Not, Joker. That could maybe lose that one maybe. They Shall Come, which is, if anyone hasn't heard that one, that was the Chris Morris follow-up to 4 Lines, I guess, after 10 years. Was that 10 years ago? Very good and weird. Watch it. Last Black Man, San Francisco, Arctic, The Nightingale, The Irishman, One Cut of the Dead, and Dolomite Is My Name. Those are all not in top 10, but they could have been, but they weren't because of the whims of fate. Sarah, say something else.
Well, another movie that I don't think made our top 10, but maybe we should talk about is Knives Out, which I presume would probably get...
Oh, it's in my top 10.
Oh, it is your top 10.
It's in
okay.
my,
well, in that case, I'm
we
very
can start now.
No, that's okay. I would say it would be an honourable mention for my list anyway, so, you know, that's good. My one honourable mention.
Case we can... So do 11
there's
then?
other ones. It's fine.
We can start on that then, because we ended the last episode with Ready or Not and mentioned
That's true.
profusely how it's similar to Knives Out without explaining how or why.
Yes.
So here's the follow-on to that.
That was the cliffhanger.
Sure, a totally unplanned one, but it did. Yes.
Yes.
Knives Out. It's not my number 10. Look, I don't have a numbered list. It's just it's a list of words. It's not a numerical list. So don't take this as being number 10 or number 1. It's neither. It's both. It's everything.
And,
You want it to
and
be
nothing.
more. And nothing. it's nothing. That's very good. I really enjoyed Knives Out. Jesus, my brain is now like scrambled from 3 different lists, one about different time zones, one about different countries, and now I just don't know what to say. Sarah, talk about Knives Out.
So I guess, we should say
Explain the similarities and why it's...
Oh, should we say what it is?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. It's
Just in case
it's a
people
Agatha
haven't.
Christie style thing, but from Rian Johnson, who makes all those films where he takes a beloved genre and flips it on its head.
Yeah.
So he took a beloved genre and flipped it on its head.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. First.
Daniel Craig plays someone from the South, which I think he also did in Logan Lucky, or at least it was also another very broad
kind
accent.
Of feels like I'm not going to say it's his shtick because that's unfair, but I think this was getting so much surprise that it was sort of like, you haven't seen Logan Lucky. Well,
I mean, even if you have, though, I think this one's a different type of accent.
That's true. There's more than one accent.
But it feels like in both cases, he did it on the first day as a joke.
Okay.
And no one stopped him.
Yeah,
so he kept doing it. Because it feels there's a lot of lines, especially in Knives Out, that feel like improv lines that are just taking the piss out of his accent.
Yeah.
And I doubt they were in the script. That's something like they just went, well, shit, he's not going to stop doing this accent, so I better like address it in some way.
Yeah.
I love the accent though. It's ridiculous. It's very funny. Hearing him say sweet beans in that accent, or my favourite line in the movie, the Nazi child masturbating in the bathroom, but in a southern drawl from Daniel Craig. Very good.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, what you must have thought.
Yeah, no, I did. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I have to say, I did go into it hearing that it's like super anti-capitalist, and I was very excited about that. I found it somewhat anti-capitalist,
adequately anti-capitalist.
Yeah, I think it fell down a little bit. I think that's where it did fall down.
Do explain.
So yeah, we were talking about last podcast. We were talking about sort of how, or it's good when basically films don't show super, super rich people as being really great. This film, for the most part, does that. The wealthy family,
go on.
very unlikable, and I mean, I think it's done quite well because the granddaughter of the family is sort of quite, a liberal.
She's the closest to being likable, but she's still completely swayed the second the family needed to be.
Yeah.
She's compromised immediately.
Yeah, like she studies gender studies, or she does something liberal, and
a lot of buzzwords are thrown around. I can't recall exactly what she's supposed to be studying, but
that's it. And she's very sympathetic, or at least seems like she's very sympathetic. It's actually very hard to know if she was actually just being
coerced into it, or But it's kind of nice that's left blank.
Yeah, no, it definitely is good. But yeah, as soon as her fortune is challenged or in trouble, she basically worries about that. The film also has a narrative of, if you were born into money, you're probably an asshole. But if you made that money, you're still kind of a good guy. And we kind of like you, even though you're a rapscallion.
Sarah, are you implying the plot of this movie said, in no uncertain terms, that the oldest, whitest and malest of us are definitely okay and good people?
It might say, that might be what I'm saying. Yes, indeed. I think, I think that is where the film kind of falls down a bit. And I think as well that actually, without giving away too much, even the title of the movie actually implies that. I again, don't want to give it away for people, but essentially it's to do with a quote from this wealthy man who made a self-made man. So it's sort of...
Is that a quote from him?
It's not a quote, but essentially he talks about knives very early on, and the claim he makes about knives is one that follows through to the end.
Yeah. No, someone does say the phrase "knives out" in the movie at some point. I think
probably
Daniel Craig.
Okay,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
His belief is basically the one that turns out to be true in the end.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
And it does very much feel like he's an eccentric old someone who kind of seems foolish, but actually is far more intelligent than you think.
Would you say he could be classed as an okay boomer?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you get it?
It's good. It's very good. It's very good.
That occurred to me watching it too. I was like, oh, this is good, because I had before seen someone describe it as like an Agatha Christie murder mystery for the Trump era, and I know what they mean by that. And it's about, immigrants getting the upper hand and stuff. Like, yeah, fair enough, cool, good.
Mm-hmm.
But I know what you mean, and yes, that does slightly undercut the more progressive, if you want to call it that, messages of the overall plot. No, that was perfect, Sarah. What do you want from the world?
Yeah, that's it.
No, I did
millions and millions of dollars. That's all I want. I mean, like, at the same time, I think if I hadn't gone in hearing like this is a super anti-capitalist movie, I probably would have been like, you know what? Overall
pretty
messages I can agree with. And I think it does do a lot of good stuff. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but do you think that it kind of turns the what would you call it, the whodunit plot, I guess, on its head too much? Like, I feel like a lot of it isn't really that much of a whodunit.
No, I quite like that at first, because I guess this isn't really a spoiler, but it's also sort of a spoiler that they reveal who did it within the first 20 minutes, I want to say. And then it's something else for the next hour or so. But then it becomes a whodunit again after that, but only like at the very, very end. When Daniel Craig has this big spiel about how... That's the thing. I kind of like the fact that it is a whodunit, then it's not a whodunit. But at the very last minute, like, it actually was a whodunit the whole time. You just didn't realize it was, but here you go. And that is a very Rian Johnson-y thing. People, now I love The Last Jedi, but people hate The Last Jedi because it's too many subversions. I understand why people make those kind of claims about Rian Johnson. Because this is just subversion after subversion after subversion. It was fun. If anything is a problem, it's probably too well cast in that none of them really get enough time to do anything bar probably Evans, Craig, and Darmas. Yeah. No one else really gets enough screen. Like Toni Collette is great for like the 10 lines she has. Ditto like Jamie Lee Curtis. But they're all wonderfly awful. They're all just the worst people, and it's great. Yeah. The Stranger Things Nazi Child's good, even though he has no lines, maybe. He just has like looks. Yeah. He looks very Aryan, which is well done, costuming. Also, that's just his head, I suppose. They couldn't change that. He just... Yeah. It never occurred to me until watching. I think he does have a very, like, Nazi youth face, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's it. 1930s. Yeah, it's got it going for him.
What were your thoughts on Chris Evans' subversion of type? Because I feel like everyone's like, oh, he's so sick of playing, like, the bastion of human greatness that now he has to be an asshole. And he was an asshole, but he didn't seem like that much of an asshole.
No, I don't think so. And he played it as quite a likable asshole. Like,
he was objectively a bad person, but he was fun to watch. Yeah. I guess they all were.
I suppose as well, like, if you only know him from Captain America, maybe you'd be more surprised. But I guess if you've seen him in other things, it's like, oh, he's an actor. Okay.
It's something called range.
Yes.
Yeah, some of us recall him from Scott Pilgrim. Yeah. Other better films.
Sunshine. He was good in that movie.
Snowpiercer.
Yes.
Probably something from the mid 2000s where he was in like a teen thing.
Yeah. Not another teen movie? I feel he was in that.
Maybe.
Yeah, possibly. Acting.
One of many interchangeable blonde actors in that era. It could have been Gosling. I don't know.
Yeah.
After we've now talked about entry in my top 10, I'm wondering how do we proceed? I'm not sure. Do we just list our top 10s or have to talk about every single one of them now?
This is anarchy now.
Well, let's go with one we've both seen and both like. Let's talk about Us again for the second time in this year. That was like fairly early in the year.
That was that was a while ago. Yeah, I think it definitely was one of the films that I have thought about the most this year.
Have you watched it again since?
I saw it twice when it was in cinema, and I have not seen it since. Sadly, I might pop it on over Christmas or something.
And or New Year.
Yes.
Whichever we're currently in.
Or 2020.
Spring. I'm hopeful that because everyone's saying, and rightly so, if it wasn't a horror film or if it was released around now, Lupita Nyong'o will be up for Oscars undoubtedly. Because it was released so early, she probably won't be. I've seen some renewed buzz about it, so I think she could, because she got a Golden Globe nomination, I think, for it.
Okay,
I think there's a fair chance. It'd be nice to get nominated for that because she was incredible in both roles.
Absolutely.
There's not many horrors this year I'd say have Oscar-worthy performances. I know you didn't much care for it, but I think Midsommar, Florence Pugh was very good.
Oh yeah, no, like that was definitely very good. acting role.
Oh, such diplomatic, slow-worded sentences. Yeah, us. What else? Still very relevant, probably.
Still, yeah.
Depending how you interpret it.
Yeah.
Pretty loose.
That's it, yeah.
I guess anti-capitalist, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, kids in cages. It's great to talk about that. Yeah, I do kind of, I don't know, I do actually feel like it should have been talked about more than it was.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like I've been thinking about it, but I suppose it did get quite a lot of buzz at the time, but I don't know.
It got a lot of buzz more about like how it was a follow-up to Get Out opposed to what it was necessarily itself about.
Yeah.
I guess because the metaphors weren't as simple as Get Out's, and people were like, well, this is confusing.
Yes,
and there's no real answer, so therefore
enjoy
stop
that.
talking.
Yeah.
If there's no actual answers, no one talking about it.
Yeah.
People's brains. Yeah.
And actually, one thing that I suppose that I kind of has, thought about since is the fact that, like, as much as I do still enjoy it, it's kind of like the problematic elements that I did not think about at first. Like the sort of implication of, obviously the reveal at the end that, oh no, it was the original all along, is it sort of implying that only someone from the surface world could actually be intelligent enough to start an uprising on the underneath world? Which
can
is
only be like
not
a class
so
revolt
great.
if it's an upper class person who fell from grace. And
exactly. So it's sort of like, it's, there's stuff to work on there. But,
like Ready or Not or Knives Out. It's
yeah.
broadly anti-capitalist, adequately anti-capitalist.
Yes, this is what we require.
At least it was a rich non-white person this time that we can that's less bad. You're getting there, Holly. You're almost there. You're nearly hitting it where you need to go.
That's it. But yeah.
I don't think we have much else to say about it.
No, I think it's just a good movie.
We could segue into horror noir.
Yes.
That heavily involved Get Out from memory in discussions.
Definitely, yeah. A lot of Jordan Peele.
Interviewing. My brain wanted to say Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to. But I almost said it. I was like, but that's not him. So I won't say it. But I couldn't recall Jordan Peele's name. I was like, my brain keeps saying Jordan Peterson, but it's not him. He didn't make Get Out. But yeah, it's horror noir. So that's I think Shudder, the app exclusively made that. It's an exploration of, I suppose, black representation through horror of the last century or so.
Yeah.
Does it go that far back?
It does start with Birth of a Nation. So, I mean, that is a century ago, isn't it, at this point?
Yeah, and it kind of goes through from how like black bodies were used mainly as targets, or how they kind of reclaimed it or subverted it, or it's very interesting. I don't think it has any like grand singular point to make, but that's okay. It's an interesting exploration of the genre from that lens. Yeah,
that's it. And actually, I think as well, in a sense, the fact that it's kind of a little bit too, it doesn't necessarily find a focus.
Yeah,
it kind of goes towards something I feel, which is that American horror is actually black horror. Like basically a lot of the most horrific things that happen to white characters they're shown that way because they happen in reality to black people.
That's very true.
But that's not as, that's basically not what Hollywood has wanted to show for the last century.
Has anyone written on that topic? That sounds like a PhD, Sarah.
I definitely have been thinking about it myself because I do think that that Get Out did what it does strike me that it's basically showing a history which is sundown towns. Sundown towns were towns that basically said black people cannot be here after sundown. If they're here, we will lynch them. There were hundreds of them across the nation. There are still some sundown towns. It's hard to know when they stopped because some of them may still be doing it. I hope they have all stopped at this point, but a lot of them won't acknowledge that they used to be. So, it's basically a big horrific continuum of murdering black people.
Well, that is America, I suppose.
Yeah, but the thing is that that's also what a lot of horror is about.
Yeah, that's not untrue.
So yeah, like it's just stuff like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like Halloween. Like it is basically all like let's like white people get murdered after dark, and whether or not filmmakers recognize that or whether that is just like cultural osmosis of white people imagining what they're doing to other people happening to them. But anyway, yeah, like that's I think what American horror is. And I feel that
a lot to think about there. A lot to think about.
And I think that's kind of what horror noir is sort of gesturing towards as well. I yeah.
Yep. Well, yep.
But anyway, so that's why I found it a very, very fascinating documentary. Yeah, actually, in particular, I think stuff like interviewing Rachel True, she was the black main character from The Craft. I remember she was talking about how the character she auditioned for, her character's issue was that she suffered from anorexia. But then when she got the character, suddenly the anorexia disappeared and her issue was that she was black. And it was just like little details like that I think were really, really interesting. It's just, it does kind of look at, a lot of like issues around being about like acting while black as well as like exploring black issues within the films. Shudder it's a really interesting service. Like I definitely recommend having a look if you're interested in horror at all.
I had it very briefly, and it was quite new when I got it. So I got it for horror noir basically, and they didn't update it again after that because the library then wasn't that expansive. But they keep adding to it. It's pretty good now.
Yeah,
and they've made more films since independently, haven't they?
Yeah, no, they made some.
It's a good little service.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's still a little on the small side, but like at the same time, it kind of feels like if you're looking for somewhere to support, and you don't want to support Netflix or something, go that way.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty.
I think we might just quickly do our top 10s each and then go back and discuss. I'm trying to think how we'll actually get to discussing the ones we won't be talking about in full if we don't do otherwise.
That's a good point.
Do you want to go with your top 10 in any order or whatever order you want?
Sure. So I kind of have a bottom top 5 and a top 5.
Sure.
That's the correct terminology. Yeah, some of the films I talked about already were Too Late to Die Young. There's a film from Chile. Yeah, that was, really enjoyed that. The Lego Movie 2, In Fabric, Booksmart, and If Beale Street Could Talk. So that's kind of my, the bottom 5. And then on top, as we already talked about, horror noir, Gwen, which is a Welsh film, The Souvenir, which I think we're going to talk about in a while, Woman at War, and Us. So,
cool.
Yes.
Right. So mine, I don't have quite the same setup as Sarah. I have 3 sort of joint number 1s and then the rest. So the rest would be Knives Out, Us, 8th Grade, a kind of joint between High Life and The Lighthouse because they're both Robert Pattinson in an isolated place doing weird sex stuff. Booksmart, In Fabric, The Souvenir, Part 1, The Farewell, and Monos. Is that 10? That's probably 10.
That's 10.
And yes, The Souvenir, it's getting a sequel, don't you?
Is it?
Yeah, so Souvenir is officially Souvenir Part 1 because Part 2 is out next year.
Oh.
And I don't know how to feel about that. Let's talk about Souvenir now. So my joint top 3 are The Souvenir, In Fabric, and The Farewell. My joint top 1, sorry. In Fabric we talked about ages ago, and it's great, and it's weird. But The Souvenir, so they're making a second one. All the same cast and crew and like director and stuff. I don't know why, because that story feels entirely complete to me.
Yeah.
So The Souvenir, for those who haven't seen it, is from Joanna Hogg, starring, I can't remember her real name, calling her Baby Tills. Tilsman's daughter, Honor Swinton-Byrne.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. Baby Tills. And she's from a sort of upper middle class background, and she's trying to make a film about working class people. It's set in the 80s, I want to say 70s, 80s. One of those smoky, dark, bleak British decades.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I mean, the boyfriend that she will acquire, he's working with like Northern Irish.
Yes, you're right.
Politics,
Sorry, I had the troubles there. He's with the Foreign Office or something.
Yes.
Like So people have, and I think not unfairly, leveled the privilege claim against it. Yeah, fair enough. But I think the main focus isn't that. The main focus is what I think is an incredibly empathetic and believable and just almost understandable depiction of a toxic relationship and how it doesn't stop. Because the whole film, you're screaming at her to leave him, and yet you also kind of get why she doesn't and why she can't.
Yeah.
And it's still very frustrating to watch. Like it's an interesting thing because you're not used to a protagonist where you're on their side but also just angry at them all the time for not doing what you want them to do. But yeah, no, she's phenomenal. The boyfriend's really good. He's awful. He's the worst person. He's a true Knives Out, whether you're not rich person.
Very good point.
Yeah, it's just a deeply, I hate saying this, it's a deeply human film. And I just think I've never seen a film depict toxic relationship like that, where you can kind of feel for both parties and yet still be screaming to leave each other or just someone die. Just to end this horror and torture.
Yeah, it kind of did quite good, like, I feel like it did quite good mind tricks on the viewer. It's sort of quite early on, you as a viewer, well, maybe I'm the only person who figured it out. But no, like, you start to get the implication that the boyfriend is using heroin.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, Julie, the main character, does not. And I know, well, for me anyway, I was kind of like, is it obvious? Is it not obvious? Like I was basically going,
I know what you mean.
Am I wrong or is she wrong? Yes. Like, okay, so now that you say that it is obvious, that's good to know.
Well, I think it is, but I'm also trying to recall at what point I figured it out. Because I think my brain twigged it the first time you see him. I feel, well, he does something with his arm where you see the arm. I was like,
yes,
is that
course.
A needle track mark?
Yeah.
But then I don't think it was until the dinner party bit maybe where I was like, oh, for sure he's definitely using heroin. The bizarre Richard Ayoade character.
Yeah.
Like kind of reveals it, and I think that's when she first fully accepts it.
Yes.
But I think I kind of half twigged it before then. Wasn't fully sure maybe. I'm not sure. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
You could be right.
And I don't know. I think as well, it's sort of like how much willful ignorance is going on. And I think the film just does those kind of things really well, where you're kind of like, how much am I supposed to know? How much do I know? How much am I not letting myself know? Actually, I remember last year, or was it last year or the year? Yeah, I think it was last year that we were kind of looking at like the most like bizarre moments or the like.
Oh yeah, I always had it in that moment now.
Yeah, well, actually, last year it was sudden male nudity for me.
Sudden male nudity, yes, I recall this.
Yeah, but this year I think for me the most bizarre / possibly the most terrifying moment of any film I've seen this year was her encountering this man in her apartment.
I knew you were going to say that scene. Yeah, that was great.
Like it's.
Horrible,
it is like, but it's amazing because it is just like the camera is just watching this happen, and you're just screaming at her to get out of there. And the thing is that the guy is obviously, maybe not obviously, but seems to be quite harmless. But at the same time, how can you know that? It's so well done, and I really liked as well that she was talking previously about the scene in Psycho. And how carefully put together that was, because this scene was just like hugely contrasted because it's just so simple and equally terrifying.
Yep.
If not, it's such a like amazing moment from just an incredible film. Like
I even like that when they go on their little holiday to Venice, it never looks fun or good or enjoyable.
Yeah,
because most films they do the kind of thing where like, okay, this is a bad relationship, they're both not having a nice time. But they went on holiday and see, they can have fun sometimes. No, it was awful. It looked awful. I think she cried for most of it.
Yes.
Like, that seems a lot more realistic. When a relationship's on the rocks, you go on holiday, it's still on the rocks.
Yeah.
I do remember thinking while watching it, and my brain has just this minute twigged what it meant, that it's weird how this is set so pointedly in the Troubles, and yet, because I assumed someone was going to get car bombed or something. I thought like she might get car bombed, or because that felt like how it was going. It kept mentioning how like if they find out where he works or where he lives, something will happen. But I guess because you're waiting for a bombing to happen, that's more just the symbolism of waiting for a relationship to kind of explode kind of thing.
Ooh,
is it weird using the Troubles as a sort of abstract metaphor for a relationship ticking time bomb? I don't know. Maybe it is.
I suppose maybe that is where you level the like privilege
maybe it is a bit
criticism at it. But no, that is a very interesting way of looking at it. Definitely,
I assume that's the reason for it. But yes, it's a phenomenally good film. It's not a remotely fun watch, but it's
No,
a really good one.
No. What did you think as well of actually the there's sort of I guess like one motif is trees, and there's sort of a shot of, I think it's like maybe 3 or 5 like very large trees in just out in the field.
And there's like the voiceover and
the
stuff.
voiceover,
Yeah.
because I've only seen the film once. I like at the time I was kind of like, yeah, should probably be paying attention now, but I'm not really. And then by the end of the film, I was like, shit, I've probably missed. I feel like that's the point of the film. To me, maybe I'm wrong, that there's loads of stuff going on. Like, it seems like a very simple film, but there's massive amounts of stuff going on beneath the surface that I just have not twigged. So I really have to go back and watch it, because it's definitely not just a straightforward drama. Like, I know it's not, but I still don't know quite what it is that's going on.
I do now, because I actually entirely forgot about the whole tree voiceover thing. I do remember thinking while watching it, I don't quite get what this means. So I think I'm in the same boat as you, of like trying to work out why? Because what even is the... I think the voiceover from memory, it's like it's her diary in reverse. Because like the very early on one is a really negative breakup-y sounding one, and then it gets more positive as it goes on. As if it's...
Okay.
Is that what it was?
No,
right?
I think you might be right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we're hearing her diary version. Maybe like the editing is meant to imply recollection. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll watch it again. Come back to next year. Who knows?
Yeah.
Before part 2 comes out.
That's it. Yeah.
I don't want a part 2.
No, me
like,
neither.
what do you do with it?
Yeah, he's back alive.
He goes back as a ghost. Like Emperor Palpatine in the new Star Wars.
Yeah.
Remember characters you liked there? They're back from the dead.
And like, what, I don't know, what does that mean for her as well? Was she like go on to be a successful director?
I think it is said a few years later. I read the really sparse Wikipedia page on that. The only thing I know for sure is that Pattinson was cast in it and then dropped out.
Oh,
so I guess he's playing new bad man love interest, maybe. Well, he's not in it now, but he was going to be in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea. And like, I'll definitely go see it because the first one was phenomenal. But like, it was a great singular story.
Yeah,
you don't need
definitely.
Anyway. Sure, look, speaking of Pattinson, I'll quickly jump into the other I want to talk about. So, High Life and The Lighthouse, which are very different yet very similar films. High Life is Claire Denis, about Robert Pattinson as a criminal in weird space prison, which is a big floating biosphere thing where Juliette Binoche does sexy experiments on her people. This sounds like a porn film. It's a deeply upsetting watch. There's a lot of rape and a sex chair, and Juliette Binoche is going to town in a sex chair. It's all very upsetting. But it's a very interesting watch about like identity and like loneliness and isolation and good stuff like that. The Lighthouse is similarly, Robert Pattinson is in The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe. He's very horny. He's very lonely. There's a lot of implied homoeroticism, but also just weird sex stuff and madness, and it's about isolation, identity, and they have very overlapping themes and setups despite being quite different. I think maybe on a pure craft level, I might say The Lighthouse is a little bit better. I think I prefer the aesthetic of High Life, but they're definitely both worth watching if you want to watch just a weird sex film. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about them. There's definitely, like in Souvenir, if I watch them again, I'm like, yes, themes and stuff.
Yeah.
Initial watch, it's more just kind of both of them kind of bowl you over with the sheer force of everything in them, because there's a lot in both of them. The Lighthouse especially, which I know is one of those films that will probably be, it's released here technically next year, but there was one screen of it here. But again, it's like it's 2018 movie really.
Okay.
But it'll be out here 2019. Like Parasite. Parasite should have been out here by now, but it hasn't been yet. So that would be the peak anti-capitalist film, and we haven't seen it, Sarah. We couldn't see it. It's not
there
out
you
yet.
go. That's
but it tied it all together. Damn
it.
Yeah, so High Life / The Lighthouse. Sarah, do you not have a Gwyn?
Yeah, bleak. This is a bleak one.
Look, 2019 not been a good year for life or the world.
No.
Yeah,
it's interesting actually, because this one was kind of compared to The Witch.
Ooh,
yeah,
good segue.
Good segue. And aesthetically, it definitely is. It's the Welsh countryside in the 1850s. It gestures towards paranormal, but it is very much this world. It's not the witchy world.
Oh, that witchy world.
I know.
What can't it do?
So, and actually, I think it's actually kind of more similar to Black 47 in a lot of ways, because it is very much about those horrible landlords who are gonna,
The British.
yes, yeah, who are gonna take all the stuff and they're gonna ruin everyone's lives. Not so much revenge going on, sadly. It's very sad. Gwen is the main character. Her family are basically just like surviving on their farmland, which is going to be taken away by the mining company any day. It actually, talking about anti-capitalism and anti-capitalist movies, I think it does seem unrelentingly bleak to a level that you're kind of like, why am I bothering? But I think it does a really good job of like showing how misfortune it's completely manufactured. Do you know, like, but you know, bad things don't just happen to people because that's the universe. It's capitalists coming and like screwing you over in every way possible. And it's like it does a really good job of just like showing the everyday way that families are barely surviving. It's quite clever because, or I think what's quite interesting is, so the father is away at war. He has died. The mother has not told the daughter. And you think it's because, well, she thinks it's because she wants to save her feelings. But it's because if the miners know the dad's dead, they're going to just take the land. So it's really like doing a really clever job of like showing how, I suppose, just how like the pragmatic and the personal are like so intertwined. It is just absolutely devastating, but in a personal and a political way. And it like, I was just absolutely devastated for days afterwards. So yeah, it's really hard going, but it's like, I think it's incredibly well made film. So I hope people go and see it. It's out on DVD.
I haven't actually heard of it. So
I don't think it got much of a release.
No. It sounds a little bit like Nightingale, which also didn't get much release, which is also incredibly bleak, female-centered, roughly the same decade set movie.
There you go. Yeah.
But that's from the Babadook lady, not the witch person. Although the witch person makes that. Yeah.
Maybe.
I feel like that's probably most of our top 10s. We might come back to do one more afterwards. Let's just quickly do some worsts first of all, though.
Yes.
So you have, I believe, a shorter list of worsts than I do. So I'll let you go second and just like rant on your one, because I know what your one is. So I have a top 10 of worsts, but I have 3 categories of sort of sub-worsts. So the overall 10 are Glass, Polar, Hellboy, Dark Phoenix, The Dead Don't Die, Cold Pursuit, The Curse of La Llorona, It Chapter 2, Velvet Buzzsaw, and Charlie's Angels. Okay, so the best of those worst is Hellboy, which was really fun and is badly made and dreadful. But if you see it in the very specific circumstances I did, as in a cinema, in a 4DX showing that's near empty, yet they have to make all those chairs move, and it's just bleak. But you're getting punched in the back when he gets punched. You're getting sprayed in the face with water when someone gets stabbed. It's too loud. It hurts. They're screaming their nonsense dialogue at such a volume of decibels that it literally hurts your ears while your chair is shaking, your popcorn's falling, you're being sprayed in the face with water. It sounds like a terrible experience, but it just came together to be really funny.
Okay.
I just laughed throughout it. I'd pay to do it again. It's not a good film.
Wow.
Worst is Polar. You didn't see Polar, did you?
No.
That was the Netflix exclusive. No, Netflix exclusive. The one that Netflix made. That's trying to be John Wick, but with Matt Mikkelsen, which sounds like a great idea on paper, and it was just horrific. It's 3 different films in one. They're all sleazy and disgusting. It's really old-fashioned kinds of quote-unquote cool, where it's just incredibly misogynistic and sleazy. And there's a funny bit where Matt Mikkelsen's like having sex with a woman, and then a shootout starts out, so it's just Matt Mikkelsen trying to have sex with a woman while naked, just firing back with guns. Yeah, it's bad.
Okay.
Is it Vanessa Hudgens in it? One of the old Disney people.
Okay.
And she gets induced really early on, and then at the end is the whole reveal of he killed her parents, and it's like, what? It's a whole
trying
thing.
to do like an okay.
Like, you know where you're on, like it's like a, like Leon, where she's like a damaged person, and you're like, oh, her parents were killed, and you don't think about it, and the end goes, oh, he killed them. And she's like, I knew you killed them. Like, well, why didn't you tell us?
It feels like this is maybe a bit too an unfair comparison, but I was thinking, I was like, oh, it's trying to do an old boy, like not literally an old boy, but just like that kind of.
I think it has aspirations towards that kind of genre, but it's just crap and icky. And Matt Lucas is there as this like completely. He's so slimy and disgusting physically that he's like basically othered, and it's all just him constantly lubing up his hands and squelching them into the microwave. It's just bad. It's really long. Don't watch Polar. And the last one I will say is the most disappointing of the year, which is Charlie's Angels. Charlie's Angels, I was looking forward to for so long. I love the other two, even though they're very bad films, but they're amazingly bad films. This one had everything going for it. Great cast, Kristen Stewart's great director/writer in Elizabeth Banks, and it's terrible. It's thoroughly unfunny throughout. Every joke fails to land. You're basically watching 2 hours of bad stand-up just die in front of you. The action scenes are competent. Kristen Stewart has been doing some great artsy stuff the last few years, so it was weird seeing her back in like a genre film. Yeah. And all she's given to do is weird, sexy stuff, and then someone will say like a crap line that isn't funny, and then she has to like do kind of an eyebrows mugging to the camera face and like, ooh, and it's like, ugh, what do you... Wow. Why?
But it's maybe artsy in like an ironic way.
Sure, let's go with that. The lack of humour was the point. It was meant to be unfunny. Patrick Stewart's kind of fun in it. Sam Claflin screams a fair bit, which is kind of funny. I kind of want a sequel, but also I don't want a sequel. Okay.
Did I see
crushed myself.
Go on. That you were happy, or if you weren't, what are your thoughts on Kristen Stewart being like named Actor of the Decade?
Oh, I saw that. I didn't really have a thought on it. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I probably wouldn't have picked her. But,
fair enough. Yeah.
Because I can think of a handful of things she's done in the last 10 years which are very good, but I'm not sure if she's done enough in terms of sheer volume of work to justify that kind of thing.
Maybe, I don't know. I guess maybe it's just like a pleasant surprise or something, that like, oh, she turned out good. Yay.
I kind of feel like if I give it anyone, I'd probably give it someone like Lupita Nyong'o or Zoe Saldana, like someone who's done, well, probably Nyong'o because she's done like art stuff, and then also she's in like Star Wars, and she's in like massive things, and then also, I feel she's done like a fairly wide breadth of things that have all been massively successful, whereas Kristen Stewart's, I guess she redeemed her image of being not a good actor in like shitty films, being a very good actor in not shitty films. Like, is that worth it? But no, I really like her. It's like, yeah, fine, I guess. It's a sort of meaningless title, I suppose. Like, whose publication was that?
I'm not sure.
I'm not angry about it. I just don't really understand. Fair enough, no. I'm bemused.
I saw someone be very happy about it, and in my head I thought it might have been you. It's not, but at least someone else I know is very happy about it, so that's nice as well.
I do recall seeing one tweet that just said, did literally every other actress die? It's like, harsh but funny. The point is, I'm sure there's men online who are angry about it.
That is a very good point. Yes,
they're annoyed Pattinson's Batman, and that she's the best actress of all time, whatever the hell that means. So that's that. Sarah, tell us what you hated.
I'm asking for it with this one. I know I'm courting controversy, but I think the movie this year...
Sarah, courting controversy with opinions about mainstream films that replies are quite well liked. A shock, I say.
I know. I'm, doing something new here. But I think Midsommar was the film that just pissed me off the most this year. It's almost certainly not the worst. Like we were talking about movies like, yes, Dark Phoenix, objectively terrible, but sort of quite forgettable. And I didn't care enough about that franchise to be worried about it anymore. Midsommar, it's hard to pronounce. And I never do it right.
It's not in my language, therefore I hate it.
Exactly. But I find it really reductive. As a film, it takes really interesting concepts and it makes them really uninteresting. Like, what if we had this odd cult-like group? What might we find? Oh, we find out they're all murderers. What if we look at these complex issues around mental health and mental illness? Oh, well, everyone murders each other. Cool. And I think that's, to be honest, I think that's my issue with Ari Aster as well. I feel like that's what he does. So it might just be my annoyance with the director as much as with this film. It just like it just comes up with really with quite interesting ideas, and I think it does like the least interesting thing it could do with them.
That's not unfair, I suppose.
I mean, I know a lot of people like it, and that's cool. I'm sure there's good stuff to find in there, but I think as well, it was also, I think I might have already said this, I find it kind of a bit of a cowardly film, because, yeah, so as I said before, like my research is in looking at the night in, well, mainly literature, but also film. And so obviously I thought, cool, this movie is going to be like, eschew the night and like look at,
do a full Ryan Johnson's version of the genre.
Exactly, yeah. How terrifying can things be in the day? But like then...
Answer, not very.
Well, not very, no. But also then it's just like the scary parts happen at night. And the one black character gets killed off at night. And it's just sort of like, oh, it's just doing the boring conventional parts of mainstream horror. And I didn't really find the rest of it very scary. I found it quite uncomfortable at times, but I think that was as much the length as anything that was happening on screen. I will admit, I think that some of the there's definitely some gross stuff going on in the film. I don't know that I think a lot of it's in poor taste as well. Yeah. So I'm not sure that I give that as a plus. So yeah, that's my rant, I think.
It was never going to be in my top 10. I did like it, but I wasn't like blown away by it. But I think you've slightly convinced me that maybe it's not that good. I think all right.
Maybe, I don't know. I have strong feelings.
Well, I'll give you the choice. We can either end it there, or we can talk about something else from our top 10. I'm trying to think what else we could talk about realistically. It's a pity you've not seen The Farewell, because that's great.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of films I have to catch up on this year. Yeah, you definitely could. Have your feelings changed on any films that we've talked about since we talked about them?
No, well, apart from Midsommar, maybe.
Okay. Oh yeah, actually, one thing I was thinking about, we do like our links here. Unfortunately, it's only in two films, but it is in two of my favorite films this year, possibly my two favorite films this year, Us and Woman at War. They're both about doppelgangers, and that is, to me, interesting. Initially I thought in Woman at War it was kind of gimmicky, but I think it might actually be like very crucial for the story, and that's actually part of the reason that I like it so much.
Woman at War was the environmentalism. From Norway, Sweden?
Iceland, yes. Iceland, yes.
That part of the globe.
Exactly, yeah. Because I suppose I haven't talked about it in a while. So, yeah, but it's about environmental activist who applied to adopt a child a few years ago, thought that she wouldn't get a child because she's too old, and then turns out that she's not. So her decision is then like, what to do? Like, if you become a mother, do you keep fucking over the capitalists? But she has an identical twin, and it's kind of, at the time when I was watching it, I was going, this is silly, because it's the same actress, and they're both they're like, obviously both of them are like late 40s, and it's that thing that annoys me of like, twins don't look that alike when they've been around that long. It just, ravages of time, I guess. People tend to not look exactly the same, whereas they do. And I was kind of going, what is going on here? I was thinking about it since that movie does seem to be kind of, well, it's it's looking at like the horrific future that we're all going towards very quickly.
You mean present?
Yes, I do. And it is trying to consider, like, can we be environmental activists and parents at the same time? Because we probably literally have to. And a lot of the film is about the two of them switching places and things like this. And I think it is kind of looking at the fact that, like, we basically might have to take on dual roles. We might have to figure out how to be the same person. And yeah, I don't think that's anything like what Us is looking at. But I do like that both of, like, basically my two favorite films of the year are all about doppelgangers. So something going on there, maybe.
It's all teamwork. I have some follow up to say to that. Yes. So yeah, it's been definitely another year in film. Indeed, a decade in film.
Yeah.
We're in a new decade now.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you have a singular film of the decade you could name off the top of your head?
Yeah, I feel like all the films that I really like are from the decade, like all the ones I thought were from this decade or from the decade before. So, anyone for you?
I'm pretty sure this is from 2010, so just about counts. But I would say when you talk about Kevin, if I had to name like a singular film the whole decade, like that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel
I
like
don't know, The Avengers. I don't fucking know. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like some film.
Let's say The Last Jedi. That's our collective film of the decade. Is The Last Jedi.
Yeah. And what a film, what a decade.
And then just fade out to hear 2 gunshots and never do another podcast again. And on that note, I hope you had a nice Christmas and a happy New Year and or spring/summer, maybe even next autumn. Who knows? We'll hopefully see you soon in the new year /current year for more film talk.
Yeah.
Probably review Parasite because they're pretty soon, I think, after
that's it.
The new year.
Yeah, I feel maybe we'll talk about Little Women. I think I'd
that
like
too.
to see it.
Maybe we'll try and watch Mara's Story so you can hit on it and I can also be indifferent towards it.
The joys of the future.
Yeah, it's a life. It's a life.
Yeah.
All of our lives. Have a good life. Bye.
You too. Bye.